Hey, this is Adam Hoeksema from ProjectionHub, and I'm going to walk you through our coffee shop financial projection template. And this is a template that is built to help you create a set of financial projections for a startup or perhaps an existing coffee shop. It can also be really useful for similar business models like a cafe or bakery. Could also be a good fit for this template. So the first thing you need to know is that any cell that's highlighted in blue is an assumption that you can change with that throughout the template. And so I've got some data that's already put into the template as kind of default data, but I'm going to go through and talk through that with you, show you what you could put in for your own situation, and then kind of show you the result here of the projections. So here you can enter the start data that you want the projections to start on. Here we're saying that you personally made an investment into the business of $25,000, and we're saying here that your accounts receivable term. So this is when you get paid. We're saying you're getting paid 100% of your sales right when you deliver the coffee, the product, right? Now, if you had maybe a large catering order, for example, if you're providing coffee to a large, corporation or business or something, they may want you to send them an invoice and bill them, and they may not pay you for 30 days. So let's say that was 10% of your business was catering. You might want to change this to 90 and 10, and that's going to impact your cash flow, and so that's why we have that here. And accounts payable is when you pay your bills. So this is saying, hey, I pay 80% of my bills the month that I get the bill, and 20% with a delay of 1 month. So that impacts your cash flow as well. You might get a bill for your coffee beans, for example, and maybe you don't have to pay it for 30 days. And so that's why, maybe 20% of your costs have a delay. That's what you'd want to put there. And then let's say you have a beginning inventory balance of $2,500 of coffee beans and maybe some supplies, coffee cups, that sort of thing. And here we have, let's say you rent a space and you spent $60,000 to do leasehold improvements to improve that space. That's what you'd want to put in here. And you have equipment. Maybe there was some equipment already in the space, but you also added $25,000 of your own equipment as well. And then furniture. You added $10,000 worth of furniture to the shop, and your glassware and plates and cups and that sort of thing. $2,500. That's what you can put in here. And then down here, let's say you got a $150,000 SBA loan, or maybe that's what you're applying for right now, and that's why you need the projections. So you could put that in here with the first monthly payment starting on month 1, and an interest rate of 4% is pretty low. Maybe we should make that 8% on a 10-year term. So now let's jump over to our revenue tab. Okay, so in the revenue tab, what you need to keep an eye on here is that we're trying to determine how you're going to acquire customers. How are you going to get customers in the door, and use that to kind of build up your projections, okay? So the first thing you'll notice here is an advertising budget, and that is actually coming from right here. So if you want to change that advertising budget, if you want to increase or decrease that, you would do it on this tab. But that advertising budget is going to drive how many new customers you have that show up. So what we're saying here is that it costs $10 to acquire a new visitor to the shop. And instead of making this a negative, meaning it gets cheaper to acquire new customers, I'm going to say it actually gets more expensive, because over time, everyone that wants to try out the shop is going to have tried it, and they will It'll probably get harder and harder to get new folks in. You'll have repeat customers, but it'll be harder to get new customers. Early on, maybe it'll be easy because everybody wants to try out the new shop. I'm going to change that even a little bit more. Okay, so if you spend $500 in advertising, it costs $10 of advertising to get one new visitor. You're going to have 50 new visitors from paid advertising in that first month. And then let's say in that first month, you have a bunch of new organic visitors because everyone wants to try the new shop, right? And so maybe that is 1,000 each of the first 2 months, but then after that, let's say that drops off quite a bit to maybe 200 new organic visitors, okay? So that's giving your total new visitors per month. And now this is saying down here, what percentage of those new visitors become regulars? And what you really want is you want regulars that keep coming back again and again. And so we're kind of saying, right off the bat, 50% of those new visitors are going to end up becoming active regulars. And you can see down here, based on the numbers that we put in there, your active regulars are going to increase over time. And then we're also saying that, hey, 4% of these active regulars are going to leave because, sometimes regulars find a new shop or they move away or stop drinking coffee or whatever it might be. And now here we're saying what number of visits per regular, active regular customer up here, per month. So we're saying that these regulars visit 1.5 times per month. And so that's going to help you calculate your total customer visits during the month. And now down here, you're basically going to put in your menu. What are your different items? You don't need to have every single item. You can let's say you have 5 different sandwiches. You could just put in sandwich and put in an average price. And then you want to know what is the cost to the business. How much does it cost you to make that sandwich or that coffee drink or tea? And then, this is the price to the customer, right? And then over here, this is really important. So you want to pay attention to this. So this is saying average number of purchases per person per visit. So you're getting these customer visits up here, right? You're getting 1,500 people to come to the shop in a given month. This is saying out of those 1,500, what are they buying? So we're saying 0.6 or 60% of those 1,527 visits are going to buy some sort of espresso drink. 20% are going to buy a coffee, 10% a tea, 30% a bakery item, 10% a sandwich, and 5% of roasted beans, maybe in a bag. And then 2% are going to buy, merchandise, maybe t-shirts, mugs, travel mugs, that sort of thing, right? So you're going to need to think through this, and this really depends on what your target customer is. So if you are really trying to be more of a cafe and highlighting your food, maybe more than your coffee, you might increase your sandwich items. Maybe this is really more like 60%, or not 6, it should be 0.6. And maybe only 0.4 get an espresso drink, as an example. Okay, so that's how you need to fill this table out. And this is just a helpful little table to show you some information based on what you entered in here. And then we have our estimated annual price increases. So what are you going to increase your prices that you charge to the customer, and what do you think your costs are going to increase as well? And maybe you just want to make those the same. Maybe you're not trying to get more profitable. You just want to pass along any increases that you get to your end customer. That could be. So that's going to help you project your total revenue per month based on all of that input. Now you're going to have this input direct labor tab. This needs to be filled out with how many hours do you expect to be open each week, and then how many hours each week do you think the shop won't be open, but you'll need to have paid employees there working to either open or close the shop. So this is saying like 14 hours a week means probably 2 hours a day. And if you're open 7 days, it may be 1 hour to open the shop and 1 hour after you close to close the shop. And you've got average employee hourly rate here that you can put in. This is going to, of course, vary depending on where you're located. And then how many transactions per hour can an employee fulfill? That's what we want to know here. Can you make 10 sandwiches per hour? Can you make 20 sandwiches per hour? Just that one employee. So that's what you want to try to enter there. That's helping you determine your capacity. And then hours per week per employee on average is 30. So based on that, this is saying, hey, you're going to need at least, this is saying how many employees do you need per hour. So maybe you're saying here, we always have to have at least 2 people at the shop. Okay, we're never going to have just 1. Or if you always want to have 3, you could put in 3, right? Okay, so that's going to help you. That's all then going to calculate your direct labor expenses. Now in this tab, you're going to put in your other various expenses. So your accounting, your point of sale, system transaction fees. So maybe this is actually your credit card. Maybe we change this to credit card processing fees. And this is going to be a percentage of total revenue. Now, right now we have it in as 8%, which is way too high for credit card fees, but maybe it's 3%. 3% of your total revenue is charged as a credit card fee. And then you'd have your insurance, rent, supplies, various different operating expenses, and you can add more down here as well. And then the last input tab is your salaries tab. So you can input your manager, supervisor positions and salaries here. And then ultimately, we're going to come to a profit and loss at a glance. And so right now you can see we're losing money based on the numbers that we have in here. But you're going to need to go through here and make sure that you think these assumptions are reasonable, and you may this may need to be, if this was 500, we would see, okay, now if we had 500 new visitors every month, we can see what happens here with our profitability. There's a number of tables and graphs and charts that you can take a look at. The last thing here is your income statement for 5 years, cash flow statement and balance sheet for 5 years, and then your income statement, cash flow, and balance sheet for each month as well that we have here. And so the last thing I want to mention, just coming back to this input revenue, if you look at all this and you say, boy, I just want someone to do this for me, we can help with that. We can modify this template for you. You just click this button and it'll take you to a form where you can request a modification, or we can actually just complete the projections for you by asking you a number of questions, and we can help fill this out for you based on your specific business plan. So hope that's helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. Just email support@projectionhub.com and we would be happy to try to help. Thank you.